and basically just get to know each other, network with each other, and join our hands together in a circle of sisterhood that supports us all. So what we're trying to do, as you can see on the slides, is that the AfriWomen network will be a thriving community of African women and girls in the diaspora and beyond. And so we're trying to build a safe and inclusive community where we can, create dialogue, connect, support each other, and grow with each other. And this has to do with the conversation we had earlier, of course, about intergenerational support. And so it's younger people within the network, such as myself, being able to grow with older people in the network and learn from them and make that community, right? And so that includes a platform for learning, advocacy, resource mobilization, of course, and also entertainment, because while we're doing all this, we have to be able to enjoy ourselves. So yeah. The next slide, kindly. Thank you. And so just a little bit about our DNA as the AWDF USA team, right? So the first thing is self-care. We believe that our well-doing is inspired by our well-being. And a lot of times when we enter spaces as activists, or we enter spaces in which we are the only person that looks like us, or the only person that sounds like us, or the only person from the same background, we can become very tired, and that can, drain on us. But through having a community, we are able to grow and share and basically we are able to come together and take care of ourselves as well as take care of the communities we're trying to foster. We also would like to amplify the voices of the women within our community. And so we believe that it is we, not people who value us, that must be authors of our stories. To this end, we are intentional about celebrating the achievements and the unfiltered journeys of African women and girls. The fourth point about our DNA and what makes us a great group is creativity and innovation. And so we believe in harnessing, investing, and unleashing our creative potential as an innovation hub. And as hopefully, as you guys have seen, and as I have seen from the speakers that we have had today, is that we come from a wide range of backgrounds and a wide, not just in terms of, the countries that we're from or the backgrounds in which we grew up, but all sorts of fields, be it from construction to activism to diplomacy. We have so much to contribute to the world and so much we can share with each other. And finally, just the abundance mindset in knowing that we have all of this to give to the world and all of this to give to each other and all of this to build with each other. We believe that rather than compete, we complement. So rather than sabotage each other, we support each other. We're not trying to be the only person sitting at the table. We're trying to bring all of us to the table and make a space in which African women's voices are heard. And so rather than critique, we celebrate each other. And that's fundamentally what we're trying to do with the expansion of the AfriWomen network. So yeah, I think I'll hand it over to Nana, who will talk a little bit more about our partnerships and those things that we're going to be doing in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melanie. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So what we plan to do, I do want to take a step back and just say thank you so much for still being with us right now. It just speaks volume to the need for this type of forum and gathering. I think that what we want to really understand is 2020 was an odd year for everybody, but 2020 actually gave us some a new way of looking at how AWDF USA will operate. And what ended up happening last year was us opening up this AfriWomen Hangouts and having them through the year to bring a global team, a global community of African women in the US, in Europe, on the continent, in Canada, bring us together to really talk about what was happening in 2020 and build from there. So I think the goal right now is to really launch an AfriWomen network that's more formalized, where we'll continue to have our AfriWomen Hangouts, but we also want to be able to come together in small circles. Whether it's circles because of profession or circles because of personal interest, we really want to make sure that we're coming together, learning from each other and supporting each other, and continue to do the work that we started with AfriWomen Hangouts last year. A critical piece to this is going to be our partnerships. So how do we bring in other opportunities for women in the network? That's going to be another critical piece. And to that, I'm just trying to be as brief today, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I really wanted to talk about, so we have two guests coming up next. And I'm going to hand over to Mayatu, because these again are critical opportunities for women in the network to be able to get their voices heard, to be able to get their supports. And we're very critical in how we select our partnerships, to make sure that they fit with our values that Melanie talked about earlier. So I'm going to hand it over to Mayatu, and we'll talk again, going through some of the partnerships that we have in mind for this community.
Thank you so much, Nana. And Melanie, I hope everybody is just as excited as I am to see the network officially launch, and I hope everyone would take the opportunity to be a part of it. I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce a sister of mine. She is a Sierra Leonean sister of mine, Dr. Yabom Gilpin Jackson, who will be coming on next to speak a little bit about just how we can really get our voices out as African women. Yabom is a powerhouse in her own right in many ways, and you'll get to hear a little bit from her on what she wants to share today. Welcome, Yabom.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy. So much love in this space, and I've appreciated all the voices. As Marita said, my name is Yabom Gilpin Jackson, and one of the things I do, which is why I love that I had this opportunity today, is step squarely into that storytelling role and do anything I can in all the ways I can as a scholar, as a practitioner, as a lecturer, wherever I find myself, to share my stories and to share African stories, African women's stories, and just bring that with me wherever I go. So one of the initiatives that I am the co-founder of is We Will Lead Africa, as well as through that, collaborating with another one of the co-founders in an initiative we've called collateral benefits, which we started during the pandemic last year. Again, sort of countering the narrative, or at least telling fuller narratives in all their glory, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the struggles, the pride in African identities and voices. But we really wanted to share more perspective and get our African narratives out during the pandemic. It's something for We Will Lead Africa that we've been doing for a number of years. We have 2 book volumes, but with collateral benefits, we wanted shorter, more digestible stories that could make everyday media as well. And so through that initiative, we've had voices of African women, voices of African leaders, and the call for voices of the African diaspora is open now. I loved the earlier conversation about just sharing our stories and publishing and all of that. And what I want to say about is this is a platform by 3 global African women, for African women and the African diaspora, to share our voices. And we've been surprised already at the media outlets that have started to pick this up. The Voices of African Women publication was picked up by New Africa, which was amazing. And so we are just putting it out there. As far as we're concerned, we'll just use our own networks and keep getting the word out. And as it's picked up, that's what we want. We want to amplify our voices. And even if they're not amplified beyond the circle of people and women and Africans on and off the continent that we touch, that in itself is all we want. We want to share our stories and make them known. So what's really important is this call was open till the end of the month. It's not a long submission. We're looking for literally like 2 paragraphs we'll do, and we'll work with you where we need more or less information. Please do submit. I think the team has the information and they will send it out afterward. So please look for it and please submit. And I'm just gonna read you a small snippet from the Voices of African Women publication, and one of the pieces that from one of my pieces that went into New Africa. And then specifically, this was in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, but for Voices of the African Diaspora, obviously goes beyond that. This is about our identities and how we find belonging wherever we find ourselves and how we contribute to voices. But for this one, just to pull out this piece, because it's so much of what we've been talking about. I'll just read you. The crisis of COVID-19 and social inequalities have revealed the environmental and social structures that breed suffering for Black peoples globally. But it has also opened up opportunities for African women who have been positioning to take space in all arenas. They are building on what our ancestors did quietly while fulfilling traditional gender-assigned roles to boldly lead Africa's progress. As we saw in documenting our stories for We Will Lead Africa Volume 2 on women. As we respond to COVID-19 and shape Africans' future, it's time to not only look for the resilient solutions, bounce back, but to take actions that allow us to bounce forward. Resilient no more. We are here to take and make space for Africa's continued transformation, especially for African girls and women on the continent and in the diaspora. So I read that obviously because of the connection to African girls and women, but to the story that even the narrative of our resilience, for me, enough already. We need to be resilient and we need to go beyond that to transformation. And part of that is sharing and amplifying our voices. So thank you for hearing. Thank you for listening. I look forward to your submissions, and shout out Mame, thank you for the space. And just to note that Mame was actually part of We Will Lead Africa Volume 2, which was African women. And that's how we connected. So more power, and have great days, evenings, wherever you find yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Yabam.
So
Okay, so next we have another partnership that we wanted to share with you. Auntie Vicky is here with us today to share information with you around the Blue Lake Project. And I can say that Auntie Vicky, as she said, is a dream weaver, a visionary of this concept that a few of us have been working Friday nights with her. And it's been sort of this Friday night powerhouse of Circle of Sisters. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of good learning. And Auntie Vicky has quite a lot of intuitive wisdom. And so we wanted to share with you today more about the Blue Lake Project and this concept, just to also get your perspective on this idea. So with that said, I'm going to switch over. Can you guys see what I'm sharing? I hope I'm sharing.
Yep.
Okay. Go back. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Auntie Vicky, and I will do your slide share.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I am so honored to be here today and to be invited into this amazing space of Black women. I feel that I'm kind of probably the least competent of all of you. I feel so overwhelmed with all of your educational and aspirational dreams, and how you shared them has been an amazing event for me this morning. But I want to just say that if I describe myself, I tell people that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And I am a spiritual being. And I believe that women, particularly Black women, we are one organism. And we are fully connected. And if we knock down these barriers that have kept us separate from ourselves, we are going to mobilize the world. And my dream for the Blue Lake Project came, this is about 2 years in the making, and I was in Lake Tahoe with a group of women, and they were predominantly white women. And I say that from the standpoint because of my 40-year career, I've spent it mostly in white spaces. And I wasn't aware of how impactful of working in those spaces were until I looked back on my career. And I have to say that there are more miles behind me than there are in front of me. But as I started to think about where I had been and what cost that had taken, I realized that I had operated in a solo fashion for far too long, and that what I really was craving for was community. And I wanted to be with my African sisters. And another piece that propelled me was the 2020 pandemic, but also racial equality and social justice issues. We had a lot of folks that on the patriarchy was telling us to go back to Africa. And I thought, that's an interesting thing to hear at this point of our lives, because really what I want to do is I want to go back to Africa. And in my conversation, it was anecdotal. I was talking with Mame, and it was during the whole George Floyd incident. And we realized that we were around a bunch of women who wanted to be performative in their allyship. And it was through my voicing of my discontent with that discussion that I really connected with Mame. And I shared with Mame my interest in bringing this collective together, and we hit it off. And that's what kind of made me think about what Auntie Abe said, is that through fellowship and sisterhood, we can shelter each other. And so the Blue Lake Project is a portal for community, a portal for change, and this is how we come together. So thank you, please go ahead. So what I had thought about was, how can I, in this point in my career trajectory, what did I want to do going forward? And what I realized was I wanted to leave a legacy for our future. I wanted to build a lasting, and I hear this word over and over again, intergenerational legacy for Black and Indigenous women. And I say Indigenous because of the comment that came before, was in many cases, we're Black people in foreign countries. And so in some cases we are Indigenous, in some cases we are immigrants. And so I wanted to be as inclusive as I possibly could in terms of how we wanted to reach out. But the primary concern is we want to transform the lives of Black women and to create endless opportunities for upward mobility. Next slide, please. So what is the Blue Lake Project? The Blue Lake Project is a global hub where Black women can come together to realize our potential. And it's intergenerational. We are providing customized coaching, mentorship, but also creating a strong foundational support that we want to lead to lifelong relationships. And that's our core mission. And how we plan to do that, next slide, please. So we want to create an unbroken line that generates integrity, harmony, collaboration, and respect. We want to bring our authentic voices. We want to be the authors of our own story, and we want to be able to tell our own stories. But not only that, we want to be disruptive. We want to dismantle and deconstruct the stereotypes that, one, may be just a misinformation about who we are, but also these are the things that keep us apart. We want to disrupt that. We also want to create a global and inclusive, again, intergenerational solidarity, because when we are much stronger together, and when we can build bridges, there are no walls that can separate us. Next slide. So again, we're a disruptive model that integrates three foundational areas of growth. And these are pillars of success. We're calling it the rising tide, the wellspring, and the safe harbor. The rising tide is for women getting started, maybe still in their collegiate roles, maybe needing scholarship, maybe needing guidance in terms of how they construct their careers. Flowing that into the wellspring, you may have been in the workplace, or you're seeking work in the workplace, but you need some guidance. You may need some coaching. You may need to know how to craft your resume or how to conduct yourself in an interview. So we want to have that sponsorship. You hear a lot about networking. Networking to me is too transactional. I want sponsorship. I want someone to come in and say, hey, I've got something, I think it could work here. Connecting those women in places where they are most needed and where the resources are for their success. And then lastly, the safe harbor. For a lot of us who've been in the chair for many, many years, we want to be able to have resources that can help replenish us, bring us back to, or maybe help us to recreate our futures. But also we want to give back to those other two pillars, the rising tide and the wellspring, in the way of coaching, in the way of mentorship, in the way of sponsorship, and yes, maybe philanthropy. So this is creating an unbroken line, and it's connected so that we can support each other intergenerationally. Next slide. So how do we plan to do this? We have some overarching goals here, but primarily we want to bridge the imagination gap. If you can see it, we want you to be it. We want to dismantle and deconstruct gender roles. I'm very mindful of Auntie Abi's story about you know, someone questioning her sexual orientation, but also realizing that we are not a monolith. We may be Black, we may be gay, we may be trans, we may be a lot of different things, but if we come together under the umbrella of women, we can all work together. And when we do that, we can foster lifelong learning and a pursuit of a life of ourselves someplace. We want to reignite and reconnect the passion and the talent for personal and professional growth. And that's, again, knocking down those silos. When we can talk to each other, we can hear our stories, we can be re-incented to keep going, to stay in the chair. We want to promote a paradigm shift by leveraging the Blue Lake experience, 3 pillars to build economic agency and independence. It goes all the way from financial security to mental health and wellness. We want to bring visibility to the achievement of Black and Indigenous women and girls. We want to amplify our voices. We want to mention our names in spaces where they count. And we want to bridge the diaspora continental gap. Again, I'm a Black woman. I've traveled to Africa and I felt like a guest there. I want to come home. I want African women all over the world to be home with each other. Next slide. So we are trying to make a promise by our engagement, by developing multiple levels of personal and professional skills and knowledge and confidence. And we want to do this in a method that allows us to be equipped to activate and navigate all the spaces and the ability and capacity for leaders, to be skilled in position to identify the right mentors and support systems to thrive and flourish. We want to be empowered to elevate our personal brand. We spend a lot of time promoting corporate brands. We need to cultivate our own personal brands and promote them amongst ourselves and with each other. We need to be confident and resilient because we need clarity of purpose and power, because there's so much that is intended to separate us. So we need that confidence. We need that resilience. We need to be able to unleash and deploy well-being strategies. And we need that through, you know, whether it's project management or conflict resolution, negotiation, public speaking. We want to provide all of those resources for our success so that we can be well-versed in articulating our career journey and stories. It's important. So we are putting, thank you. So we are putting together the relationship, next slide, please, and promoting the partnership with the Blue Lake Project. We have developed a wise council. Auntie Abi is a member of it. Moyatu is also a member of it. Nana and Mame. We are also working with Linda Calhoun and the Career Girls organization as initial equality partners, as well as the MILT organization. And we're also looking for sponsors and funders, and we are developing our business plan, and we have a lot of work, and this is a heavy lift, and we need a lot of support. And so we're bringing it to you. This is actually our very first opportunity to express what we're doing to the world. I'm happy to be able to disclose this wonderful initiative with the African Women's Development Fund USA, and I'm hopeful that we'll have a strong and lasting relationship for the future. And I thank you for your time today. Thank you for welcoming me. And I also wanted to offer that there is this wonderful passage from T.S. Eliot that Auntie Abi gave to us about the still point. At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards. At the still point, there the dance is, but neither arrest nor movement. And do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance, and there is only the dance. And that's what the Blue Lake experience and the project is about, the dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Vicky. So I'm gonna do some quick announcements, and then I'm gonna actually hand over to Auntie Abi to close us out with a poem. So just, and again, we'll send this out to you, so I'll just maybe actually go through this really quickly. Again, we'll be sharing with you more information as the network so solidifies and grows, but there are ways you can join us right now on Facebook and the WhatsApp group. We'll make sure you have that information. We always need volunteers. So this whole day, really, this few hours of being together was really put together by our fellows. And so I really want to thank them, and we'll get to that. But I just want to say that we do always need volunteers that can support us, Facebook group admins, etc. We also have a newsletter that we'd love for everyone to contribute to. We have our Zazzle store where you can get some AfriWomen swag now. And certainly you can learn more about our journey on our YouTube page. Professor Buzia just put something up as well. Okay. And as Abhinawa shared, she will be up on Thursday. As you can see, I'm getting interruptions here. Abhinawa will be up on Thursday on Facebook Live. Okay. So again, please connect with us. We'll share all this information with you. And just a big thank you again. You may not see them all in the forefront, but to Valerie, Moitzi, One, and Melanie, thank you so much for your support in getting us here. They really sort of went above and beyond. And as thought partners, as creatives, as designers, we really want to honor you today and just say thank you. Mean a lot to us. So again, everyone who wants to be a fellow, please let us know. It's a journey, and it's a beautiful journey, and it's great to get to know all of them. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to hand over to Auntie Abby, who is our emeritus board member right now. Auntie Abby has been there day in, day out with us at every single AfriWomen Hangout last year, at every board meeting, every discussion. And we just really appreciate your words of wisdom. And we really would love to hear you take us out with some words of wisdom. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, you really don't need to thank me for being part of this. It's so inspiring. It's so inspiring. I don't need to do anything. I just love to be here to listen. And I'm so happy you asked me to close out with a poem. First, though, I would like to say I'm so pleased that Vicky reminded us again of that line from T.S. Eliot. So in case you want to know, that wonderful passage on the still point of the turning world is from the first of T.S. Eliot's 4 quartets. It's an excerpt from Bert Norton. And I consider T.S. Eliot one of the great poets of the 20th century. We will forgive him being white and male because he was such a great poet. And, you know, when I was thinking of which poem to share, there are a couple that came to mind, but really, after this discussion, after the first 15, 20 minutes, I thought there is no debate. I'm going to share a poem some of you may know. It's one of my oldest. I realized with horror that it's actually 35 years old now since I wrote it. But I want to share it, and I want to give not much of a background, but I just want to talk about the particular night on which I wrote it, because it was so important to me, especially as the woman who I shared the day with is my good friend, and the core AWDF USA people will know that one of the traumatic things that happened to me last year, and it's almost exactly a year, it's a year on Sunday, and it's kind of a blessing to me that it is actually Easter Sunday this year, that it's a year since I lost one of my closest friends, Cheryl, my friend and colleague Cheryl Wall, Dr. Cheryl Wall, the great Black feminist Harlem Renaissance scholar who interviewed me going into Rutgers, became my department chair and colleague and friend and mentor and supporter, passed away a year ago, and it'll be a year on Easter Sunday. And 35 years ago, she took me to one of the first small conferences on Black women's literature. She was a speaker. She was one of the 2 critics speaking that day. And it was a small conference organized, in fact, not for university professors, but for high school students at the high school in northern New Jersey. And she was speaking. The other critic was the awesome Hortense Spillers. And those two were talking about Black women's literature, and the writers speaking that day were Nikki Giovanni, Tony K. Bambara, who was sharing the early unpublished version of the book that became These Bones Are Not My Child, and the late, great Gwendolyn Brooks. And it's incredible because we've lost Cheryl Wall, we've lost Tony Cade, we've lost Gwendolyn Brooks. That evening was so inspirational to me. I mean, it was a snowstorm. There was one of those freak New Jersey beginning of April snowstorms. Hortense Spillers was late because she was caught driving up for Haverford. When we were leaving, Cheryl was driving me, and Hortense followed us in this snowstorm. We stopped at the Golden Nickel, the wooden nickel on the edge of New Brunswick to eat. And then Hortense had 2 more hours to get to Haverford, and Cheryl dropped me off home, and I could not sleep. I just could not sleep because I had this poem inside me. And it's a poem called Liberation. I wrote it like in one go, called a friend of mine to say, is this okay, kind of thing. And this poem is a poem called Liberation. We are all mothers, and we have that fire within us of powerful women whose spirits are so angry we can laugh beauty into life and still make you taste the salt tears of our knowledge. For we are not tortured anymore. We have seen beyond your lies and disguises, and we have mastered the language of words. We have mastered speech, and yes, we have also seen ourselves. We have stripped ourselves raw and naked, piece by piece, until our flesh lies flayed with blood on our own hands. What terrible thing can you tell us which we have not done to ourselves? What can you tell us which we did not deceive ourselves with a long time ago? You cannot know how long we cried until we laughed over the broken pieces of our dreams. Ignorance shattered us into such fragments to recover with our elixirs. Even we wondered how we could hold such treasure. And yes, we have conceived to force our mutilated hopes into the substance of visions beyond your imaginings, to declare through pain our deliverance. So do not ask. Do not even ask what it is we are laboring with this time. Dreamers remember their dreams when they're disturbed, and you shall not escape what we will make of the broken pieces of our lives.
Thank you so much, Auntie Abby. Thank you so very much for those words to take us home. And to everyone here, just thank you on behalf of AWDF USA. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you to everyone who supported making this event possible. A dream mommy has come to be. And I'm so grateful that, I know as much as we would want to be in the same room together, I think this also gives us an opportunity to reach more people. So just thank you to everyone for being here with us today. Mommy, any closing words? No.
I'm just grateful. That's all. I think in the chats, if we can just leave one word, just one word that you are walking away with. It could be something you're feeling, it could be something you're grateful for, but encapsulate that in one word. Let's flood the chat with one word, and my word is stewardship. 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 So let's flood it. Some say seed, movement, sisterhood, stewardship, inheritance, presence, togetherness. Come on, bring it, inspired and energized, reciprocity. Come on now, community.
Nana,
yes, embracing the moment
Nana,
of
when
quiet.
we're done, save the chat.
Yes.
Save
Yes, Auntie Abby. Empowerment, possibilities. Yes, connections. Yes. And I began by saying, this is a seed. It started as a little seed. Don't despise that thing you have in your hand. We each have something. Be a good steward and don't drop the mic. Thank you so much. I am just, oh my God. Thank you. I love you all. God bless you. I mean, the team, Nana, Oyatu, Melanie, Valerie, Oni, Moite, every single person. We didn't know how we're going to get this done. Like 2 weeks into, we're like, what are we doing? And here we are.
And I have to say this. Everybody, we were nearly 60 people at one point.
Yeah.
This is a real labor of love. The team does this because they love to do it. There is no money. There is no, I mean, they snatch time from their lives, from their families. Let's make a big shout out to all children, significant others, people in their care, everything. Because, this happens out of people's love and desire. And that's all. This would not exist if it weren't for people's love and desire. And we really, really, really need to honor that. We need to honor that. It's really amazing because this is a movement. And it is a movement because people will it to be so. And that's really extraordinary. It's really extraordinary. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Auntie Abby, for your covering. You cover us. You really do cover us. And I'm so grateful for Auntie Vicky too, I think earlier on and we are done. So if you need to drop off, you can drop off.
Let's make it the after party. We need an after party.
Don't feel, you can drop off. It's just us having chit chat. So, but earlier on when Halima was talking, there was something she said. She was talking about the person who had helped her, and she was like, "Oh, my sister," and then she said, "No, she's not my sister. She's my aunt." And it made me remember a conversation Auntie Abby and I were having, and she invited me to speak alongside her on this platform. And so we were talking, and the person kept saying, "Oh yeah, and Auntie, and Professor Buzia has invited her sister." And I'm looking, I said, you people, this man is not my sister. She's not my classmate. She's not my classmate. I said, "I'm so sorry, but I just need to correct something here. This woman is not my sister. I understand the idea, but I call her Auntie Abby. She's a mentor, she's a mother for me and all of that." And the whole conversation actually shifted just because of that one comment. And we went to the honorifics of sisterhood and of movement building. And I think it's so important. So when Halima was talking about it, I was like, yes, we need a whole space to talk about honor. As I have been on this journey, I recognize the importance of honoring what people have done, the work they've put in, the sweat they've put in, the energy they have brought, the shoulders on which we stand, the tables on which we stand, the chairs on which we sit to run our mouth. I know how to run my mouth, but because people like Auntie Abby and Moabi and all the others have paved the way. And it's important in our movement, in sisterhood, there is a place for honor. I think we take that for granted sometimes. And we need a bigger conversation around honor. So I'm just putting it out there. Perhaps, in our AfriWomen Hangout, we're going to be talking about this notion and concept of honor, through the African lens and through sisterhood. blah, blah, blah. But I was just so thrilled when Halima was like, she's not my sister, she's my aunt. I was like, girl, you got it.
That makes Halima my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, mommy. Thank you.
Yeah, Halima. Oh, you're still here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Bridget, you wanted to say something?
I just want to say that I'm very, very happy to have participated in this wonderful and incredible event. And I really want to thank Sister Mami and the team for putting all of this together.
Yeah.
Of course, my big sister, Abena Busia, I cannot enough. You have been encouraging us from my days as a student at UCLA when we used to go to African studies, and I'm sitting here today seeing you. I am so happy and delighted, and definitely, as Mame just said, we have a place for honoring our sisters, our mothers, and all the shoulders that we stand on. And so hopefully we're going to have this, you know, replicated sooner than later, because we're eager, bigger conversation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.